remember who you are was my mother. But remember who the heck you are is what I need right now. No, but also what I need is Patty down there. Good. She's working with me. He's working with Patty right now. Sue, he's working with Patty. You know what a great seed that was? The glasses were like this. You just had a whole handful of glasses right there. Eli. He's turning it on right now, Sue.
Good morning, everyone. And Happy New Year. A couple of Sundays ago, somebody came up to me and said, "Are you the moderator?" It made me think of that little kid's book, "Are you my mother?" But so I've been your moderator for about a year, but I'll start this new year off by saying, I'm Sue Cross. I'm the NCC moderator. I just have a couple of announcements this morning. Yay! Announcements. First Monday night's meditation will be tomorrow on the second Monday because, of course, the first Monday was New Year's. So it'll be at 6 p.m. here in the sanctuary. Wear some nice, warm, comfortable clothing. There's a suggested donation of $20, but regardless, just come and enjoy with Dr. Michele McCormick the wonderful meditation. And then January 24th, also at 6 p.m., there'll be our Hour of Peace and Healing, which we're doing once a month. It's different each month, so come and enjoy an hour of mindful awareness and manifesting our hopes for the world. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Thank you, Sue. We have such a special morning planned with Reverend Patricia Truman speaking with us and for us today, and I think her message is going to be just right for the new year. I just finished a novel by Lauren Groff called Vaster Things, and it's an incredible novel that describes a young woman who leaves the city of Jamestown back when the early settlers came and she went into the wilderness on her own, and it's her story of survival, and how as she stays in the wilderness on her own surviving, she becomes more and more a part of the earth, the sky, the stars, the rocks, the animals, and everything in it. And so I'd say that because the reading this morning really resonates with this book I just finished last night. Reverence is the way of radical respect. It recognizes and honors the presence of the sacred in everything: our bodies, other people, animals, plants, rocks, the earth, and the waters. It is even an appropriate attitude to bring to our things, since they are co-creations of humans and the source. Nothing is too trivial or second class for reverence, but it has to be demonstrated with concrete actions to bring it alive. Don't abuse your body, eat right, exercise, get enough rest. Don't abuse the earth by being wasteful of its gifts. Protect the environment for your neighbors and future generations. Reverence is also a kind of radical amazement, a deep feeling tinged with both mystery and wonder. Approaching the world with reverence, we are likely to experience is sister, awe. Allow yourself to be moved beyond words. It just might be the best peak experience of your life. Roxanna?
Thank you, Dr. Michele.
Yes.
And who could be more reverent than me?
You are so reverent.
I think humor is really important in this day and age. And I read something to Rod, and I'm going to read it to you that a friend sent me, and I laughed. First of all, then we're going to sing You Are, which every time I say You Are, I see that I go, I know you are, but what am I? That's what I always think of when I see that we're going to sing You Are. But I know some of you probably know this. There were 3 good arguments that Jesus was black. Do you know this? He called everyone brother. He liked gospel. He didn't get a fair trial. But then there were 3 equally good arguments that Jesus was Jewish. He went into his father's business. He lived at home until he was 33. He was sure his mother was a virgin, and his mother was sure he was God. But then there were 3 equally good arguments that Jesus was Italian. He talked with his hands. He had wine with all his meals. He used olive oil. But then there were 3 equally good arguments that Jesus was a Californian. He never cut his hair. He walked around barefoot all the time. He started a new religion. But then there were 3 equally good arguments that Jesus was an American Indian. He was at peace with nature. He ate a lot of fish. He talked about the Great Spirit. But then there were 3 equally good arguments that Jesus was Irish. He never got married. He was always telling stories. He loved green pastures. But then there were 3 equally good arguments that Jesus was Mexican. He treated his mama like she was a saint. He always wore lantas and a serape. He was a carpenter who could fix anything. But most compelling evidence of all, 3 proofs that Jesus was a woman. He fed a crowd at a moment's notice when there was virtually no food. He kept trying to get a message across to a bunch of men who just didn't get it. And even when he was dead, he had to get up because there was still work to do. Is that not the best thing you've heard in forever? I laughed. So we need that levity with what's going on right now. Let's sing You Are. This is Ann Polkingham's favorite song. She's told me how hard this is, so that's why we're doing it. Just to torture Ann. I'll wait till the words are. There they are.
me, can you hear me? Am I good? No?
You gotta just speak up really loud, like you're yelling
I don't
yelling
have,
at kids.
huh?
Like
I'm
you're
yelling at kids. For me, can you hear me now? Okay. For me, reverence for the day's activities starts with gratitude for a good night's sleep. Gratitude for the quiet, peaceful, early morning starlit night sky. And in that sky, looking up at the stars, I make a little commitment. I offer up my willingness to be shown that day what it is I need to know to move my journey forward. And soon, back inside the house, sitting on the sofa, the miracle of the coming of the light emerges, where, from my living room window, the total darkness begins to differentiate. There is a brief moment when the sky turns a very light blue, sort of actually a navy blue, and it manifests above the flat black shape of what will reveal itself as the house and trees across the street. As the sky lightens and brightens, details emerge. Branches of the aging apricot tree in my own front yard begin to appear. This wonderful old friend graces 7 of the 9 panes of the window I am looking through. This beloved tree changes every day. At this time of year, this day, she is still dropping old yellow leaves, reminding me to release what no longer serves me, to stand firmly rooted in connection with the earth as she does. I see her bare branches, knowing those little insignificant, hopeful nubs will swell, open into glorious blossoms, which will call and feed the bees. She will provide sustenance for the bees, and the bees, in turn, will aid her in creating delicious fruit for birds and animals, 2- and 4-legged, and of every sort, and those squirmy and wormy guys, too, who are the best composters of all time, turning rotting fruit into a rich soil that will once again feed the old apricot tree, so that she can live another year to be what she was meant to be, a tree in her own right. And a tree who supports all of life through creating oxygen for the animal kingdom, cooling shade in the hot summer sun, nooks and crannies for birds to nest in and insects to hide in. We are in and on life's journey together. We are inextricably bound together. We are all from source energy, each a unique expression of source energy, and we are all connected by source energy. I am in awe of the simplicity and complexity of our shared circle of life. It is in these early morning hours when I am just observing and being with what I observe that there is no doing. In the observing, there is only being. So, how can I take this beingness into the doingness of the day? How can I embody reverence for the day's activities? For me, it comes down to creating balance in my life and in my day, for mind, body, and spirit, which has required me to drop the belief that I think that I can finish every task every day. So instead, I take a block of time for those tasks and activities. And when I do this, let's say I take 2 hours a day for each task, suddenly every moment is precious because I'm not going to be there forever. That simple shift relieves stress and pressure and allows me to open into being with whatever the activity is. Perhaps it is these small bursts of clarity we receive when we are present with our daily activities that bring us ever closer to our true selves, where we are open and grateful for all of life, and all of life is to be revered.
Thank you so much, Sue. Isn't it just wonderful to hear her reflections, just the wisdom that comes from her observations in life. Really appreciate your contribution each Sunday, Sue. It's wonderful. So let's take a moment together and set our intentions for 2023 to become more mindful. Oh, sorry. I just went backwards. That's not very mindful. That is not mindful at all. That is completely out of my mind. So,
I don't believe it's,
thank you.
Michele,
We're
I
now,
don't believe
wait,
it's
what year is it? That's right, 2024. I just don't, it's hard to admit we just
Dr.
keep,
Michele, did you read that somebody said something about, 20 years ago?
yeah.
And I went, oh yeah, I remember the 80s.
Yeah. That's
And then I
right.
realized that's 40 years ago, the 80s. So I hear you.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I'm really doing this today because I need to become more mindful. So for 2024, let's just set our intention to be more mindful. And so I'd like to just join in a prayer and ask us to all come together in one spirit, in one mind, in one heart, and ask for the presence of mind as we move through our day to really stop and see, to take moments of pausing and to drop in and to see there that person in front of us, really see them. If we're washing the dishes, that we are washing that dish. If we're walking Heisler Park, that we see the water and the waves crashing at Rock Pile. If we step out of our car on the way to an evening meeting and we look up and witness a full moon, that we really stop and notice it. The hummingbird, as she or he lights upon the branch so beautifully, the magic and mystery in that little being, a child laughing, a grandparent holding their grandchild, and love wherever it may be found. And so, with this intention to be more mindful, may we be at peace. May we all be well. May we be safe. May we be free from internal and external harm. May we be healthy and strong. Some of us even in the midst of our infirmity. May we be love. May we feel joy, happiness, even hope. And may we love ourselves just the way that we are. Amen.
Amen. I know it's the holidays and everything that's been going on, but my mother, who's been gone, it'll be 13 years in May, has been visiting me like crazy. I don't know if anybody else has been experiencing, well, not my mother, probably hasn't been visiting you. She would if she could, just know that. And one of her favorite songs, she's the one that always told me, remember who you are. We could never say in the house as little kids, I'm bored. She'd say, you have a brain. How could you be bored? And she'd say, go out and do something. Even if it's wrong, just go out. and do something. And that explains a lot of my behavior. But one of her favorite songs that she used to sing to me was an Irving Berlin song, and this is my intention, to be more grateful. They sing this, I think, in the movie White Christmas. If I can remember it. When I'm worried and I can't sleep, I count my blessings instead of sheep. And I fall asleep counting my blessings. When my fall asleep counting my blessings. I dream about a nursery and I picture curly heads, and one by one I count them as they slumber in their beds. If you're worried and you can't sleep, just count your blessings instead of sheep, and you'll fall asleep counting your blessings. Thank you. I'm grateful for Eli, who's been doing our sound, by the way, when Cyrus isn't here. So let's give Eli a big hand.
Well, I have the privilege of introducing our speaker today, the Reverend Patricia Truman. And I have a little bio here of her, but I thought I might just first share some personal reflections. I don't know how, but I was going through my phone, and this image of her from 2016 came up on my phone. And it was at a Sawdust Festival costume party. And she was dressed as the queen of the ball. She looked beautiful in her green, I don't know what color dress it was, her scarves and her hair, and she was sitting in a chair, and she just was the delight of the ball. And her personality just shines in the community. She's been a realtor, a businesswoman, and you'll hear more about her, but her heart is so true and so dear, and her wisdom is deep. So we're really privileged to hear her this morning. So Patricia Truman is author of Mystic Cloudwalker and has always had a passion for writing, including poetry. She's been an active businesswoman for 41 plus years. She was in banking and then became an escrow officer, eventually originating and running the escrow company, Laguna Niguel Corporation. She is active in philanthropic endeavors, a professional model for many years. Returning to the business world, obtained her real estate license and became a top producer as Realtor of the Year. She was ordained in 2012 and is still active as a facilitator. She has many countries around our diverse and beautiful planet, from where she's often caught in her poetry, essay, and prose pieces. And she's been published in Creative Thought magazine. And I will let her share herself with you now. Please come up.
Thank you, Michele. You had me blushing. I had sent out a New Year's greeting, and I don't have all of your emails, so I thought I would read it this morning. Remember when Laguna had the double rainbow? So that is how I started my greeting. May we all have a double rainbow year. Farewell, 2023. Gratitude for blessings, lessons, healings, and new steps that we took. Deeper connection to those we hold dear. And I see a few of them here today. Thank you. Beauty of this precious place on the planet where we are privileged to live. Friends far and near. My cup overflows with delights of daily routines and surprises, like a wee hummingbird's appearance as I was writing this. Many miracles are not to be missed, so may 2024 unfold with divine grace, filling hearts and minds of all living beings to embrace peace, harmony, and true goodwill to all, is the whisper of my heart to all of you. The topic I have today has been very alive in me as I view the world, and we've discussed it here many times, politics, wars, inequities. But I need to give you a backstory. The Golden Rule really awoke in me again years ago when I had an amazing weekend sponsored by Religious Studies for the Tibetan Buddhists at UC Santa Barbara. And we were there to hear the Dalai Lama speak for 2 days. Have any of you heard the Dalai Lama? Yes, and you know what a pure and precious soul he is. The last day, the Dalai Lama, he always spoke about compassion in the morning, but he spoke about the nature of mind. And then in the afternoon, he introduced a question on ethics, searchingly put forth to this large audience. What is a common ethic that all peoples could embrace? Now, this stimulated a deep contemplative and meditative mood for all of us. No answers, just an inquiry, a question that prompts the inner self to do some deep thinking. Two of his advisors joined us every evening. We stayed at the old mission, and our rooms were the monk cells. It was wonderful. And it was an extremely rich, intellectual, and soul-satisfying experience. For me, I call that mind candy. So we were broken into small groups, and a question was posed that night, because we'd seen a film about the Tibetans and how their religious practice is every part of their life, their work, their eating, everything. It's like the air they breathe. So if America had a religious practice that pervaded every part of our society at Tibet, would we be more innovative? Would things be different? Or something similar to that. So our group, there were many opinions and discussions, and I sat there reflecting of my childhood. Well, certainly not rigorous religion as the Buddhist, but I was born into a half Catholic and half metaphysical home. And the church, the playground, the sandbox, our catechism rituals, ceremonies, and teachings of Jesus were a part ingrained into us as a youth. Overarching everything, our parents, our teachers, even our friends, we spoke about the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You know it well. So it was a prominent thought in our upbringing, and I'm sure many of you here will remember that that was what it was like. It gave us the impetus to want to act, speak, and deal with others as we would want to be dealt with. So the Golden Rule is a law of ethics, the ethic of reciprocity, stating that a right to just treatment, a responsibility to ensure justice for others and all. And reciprocity is arguably the most essential basis of modern concept of human rights. And I realized I had not heard that probably in 40 some years. So a key element of the Golden Rule is that a person attempting to live by these rules or this ethic treats all people, not just members of his in-group or the good old boy that riches themselves while others are suffering and have war cast upon them. As I thought deeply about this, and thinking at that time, I think it was 2009 or so, there was another economic meltdown, and I was thinking about that and the derivatives that had been created that bankrupt many people and even countries. And if foundational in your belief structure was the Golden Rule, how could these things be created when you knew you were going to harm other people? How could a war be declared on false evidence? How could greed overtake all the actions of a corporation or governments or so forth? And if I'm speaking about something that is against your political belief, I'm sorry. But these were my reflections. And then I was remembering years ago, when I was a young mother and wife, we used to spend Thanksgiving in the desert with an aunt and uncle. And we were there, and Aunt Sarah had just come back from Harvard, where her son had graduated with a master's degree, got a wonderful education. But she was furious. She was like an old hen. She said, I don't like what they're teaching there. And I said, Aunt Sarah, what is it? She said, they're teaching those young minds any means justifies the end. And that's wrong. I kind of understood it at that time, but years later, as I began to see the changes in our country, I realized, no, she was absolutely right. And that philosophy has been being taught in some of the finest universities for some of the cream of America's for 4 or 5 generations now. So their great-grandfather, their grandfather, their father, all adhere to this. And so we have those young people now in politics, World Bank, governments in state and, of course, federal government. So the decisions that have been made to me are out of integrity because they believe they're professors and so forth. So they feel they're doing right because they're justified in honoring the end, and the end is profits, not for the good of all. And that seems paramount now in many of the businesses. And anyway, you know, I don't have to go into it. It became clear to me that we need to reinforce in public policy the principles and the values we say we believe and desire. And I believe many American people do carry these values. And we find joy in knowing that we were doing the highest and best in our lives and affairs. Having your word be impeccable is the best to our knowledge, as I endeavor to do in my real estate profession. And that brings true joy, which comes from being in alignment with our soul self, not from flash and dash. So it creates a joy within us through achievement. Love and law are always operating in the universe. The Golden Rule has its roots, actually, in a wide variety of world cultures. It was present in the philosophies of Judaism, Greece, India, China, and so forth. And Jesus, the teacher of teachers, in the biblical book of Luke said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." And in Leviticus, which is, of course, the Old Testament or the Torah, which was written long before Jesus was even born, in which he was raised to study, says, "A grudge against one, do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against one of your people, but love your neighbor as yourself." So that ethic has been in humanity for centuries. Also in Leviticus, "But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love them as thyself." In other words, one of your people is all people or humankind. We live in a cause and effect universe, as you know, so what we sow, we reap. And thoughts are things. They have a vibrational energy. Thoughts are felt and known in our conscious or subconscious mind. And our words, as you know, have great power. So quotes of the universality of the Golden Rule in world religions. So they come in many different ways, and I'll read a few of them. Confucianism: "Do not do to others that you would not like yourself. Then there will be no resentment against you, either in the family or in the state." Buddhism: "Hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find harmful." Hinduism: "This is the sum of duty. Do not unto others that you would not have them do unto you." Islam: I thought this was interesting. "No one of you is a believer until he desires for his brother that which he desires for himself." Judaism: "What is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow man. This is the entire law, and all the rest is commentary." Taoism: "Regard your neighbor's gain as your gain, or your neighbor's loss as your loss." Zoroastrianism, which is, I'm told, the first real religion and the oldest: "The nature alone is good, which refrains from doing another whatsoever is not good for itself." And of course, Christianity: "All things whatsoever you do that men should do it to you, do ye to them, for this is the law of the prophets." And Jesus, in his teaching to his disciples, said, "I'm going to tell you something that is hard. Love your enemies." So hearing all of these different ways that the Golden Rule is said, it makes us know there is a united consciousness. What a difference our world would be if this was a standard to resolve conflicts. I like to say, and often taught in my classes, that if you look at all the world's religions or philosophies or great writers, there's this thin golden thread of truth. Truth is eternal. So that's, to me, what the Golden Rule is. And it gives you an intention of wanting to do right as a guiding light in your life, seeking spirit for what wants to come forth in the world. And I believe that's what the neighborhood church right here is seeking, what wants to be birthed, to live the golden rule out loud. How attractive to know that a place where any can come, no matter what your path or not at all, to be known, seen, heard, and acknowledged in a loving atmosphere. There's a vast chasm, it seems, between what was our accepted way of being and what we see today. So we each can be agents of ethics, integrity, and loving thoughts, words, and deeds. I would like to close with what the Dalai Lama said for 2024, since we are in our first talk of the new year. Having thanked all of his people, he said, "Despite the many challenges that we are facing today, I feel optimistic that with a growing appreciation of how interconnected we all are in the oneness of humanity, we can all world and free from pain. We are social animals. We should work for the benefit of others is the best way of ensuring happiness. We could find peace in the world. Every human being has the potential global community. We must try to cultivate compassion. We can contribute to the well-being and happiness of all humankind. If the last century has been a century of violence, it is our responsibility to make this. Warm greetings to you all, hoping all enjoy an auspicious beginning to the new year, 2024. Prayers and good wishes from the Dalai Lama. And I trust my words have somehow touched or enriched each of you, at least stimulated some consideration. I know that there is a power for good in the universe, and we can use it, and may it be so for all.
Thank you, Patricia. I was going to do over my head. I was thinking about what Patricia was saying, and I'm going to try to remember that. Do unto others. As I watch the football playoffs today, it's going to be hard to actually have that love for the other team, but I'm going to try. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be love somewhere. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. Over my head, I hear singing in the air. There must be love somewhere. What'd you think about that wind last night? Over my head, I see glory in the air. Over my head, I see glory in the air. Over my head, I see glory in the air. There must be love somewhere. Sounded great. as you get up and prepare to leave, I mean, you can start going out. I am alive with the spirit of love. 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 I am alive, y'all, alive with the spirit of love. Ask your neighbor, are you alive with the spirit of love? 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 Are you alive, y'all? Alive with the spirit of love. We are alive. We are alive with the spirit of love. We are alive with the spirit of love. We are alive with the spirit of love. We are alive, y'all. Alive with the spirit of love. Go and do unto others